This is Donovan Bixley. You may not have heard of him, but you may recognise the character he's drawing. That is Shakespeare he's drawing. Donovan is a Shakespeare nut, knowledge
enthusiast,
and he's produced this book. He's upstairs. We're going to go and have him. I think he's probably wearing traditional clothing of some sort as well, Shakespearean clothing. 400 years since the Bard's death, Shakespeare has always been popular. And this is a book which Donovan has put together to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death. It's a different take on William Shakespeare, which we will explain when we go and meet Donovan later. Not only did he write it, but of course, as you just saw, he's a brilliant illustrator as well.
Yes, so he's doing us a bit of a live drawing of Shakespeare. We'll go up and join him a little later on.
To meet Donovan Bixley, who we saw you earlier just showing off. About half an hour ago you started this. Look at this.
Yeah.
It is brilliant, and there's no doubt who you're drawing here. This is, of course, the Bard himself, William Shakespeare. It's quite stunning. You're a Shakespeare obsessive, aren't you? What is it about this guy?
Well, you know, he never goes out of fashion, you know, because he's constantly being reinvented and reinterpreted. And, you know, from the Maori Merchant of Venice to, you know, the Lion King, which is Hamlet with lions, for those people who don't know. And, you know, I think it's that constant reinvention which just keeps him alive. And the fact that, you know, probably 1 in every 10 things we say comes from Shakespeare.
That's true, isn't it? And so he's always been fashionable. I want to talk about your fashion. You're sort of Shakespeare channeling Jimi Hendrix here. Yeah,
well, I think that was one of the ideas behind my book, is that sort of try and present Shakespeare to a modern audience.
Yep.
And my view of Shakespeare is kind of like a, you know, 16th century Bob Dylan or Jack White kind of guy.
Because he was a cheeky bugger, wasn't he? I mean, there was nothing very serious about him during his life, which is what you've tried to portray in your book. This is a beautiful book. And Donovan, not only have you written it, but you've done the illustrations for it as well. And you basically have picked a quote for each stage of his life, and then tried to portray who Shakespeare really was in your eyes. And here, of course, there's no denying exactly what's... and I'll just give you another one here. Well, there's sort of an orgy going on around him. A new take on Shakespeare.
Yeah. I mean, actually finding some of the quotes to go with telling part of a story was one of the hardest things, I think. You know, some of them were really obvious, like something like double, double, toil and trouble. I always had in the back of my mind, that would be a really great way to describe Shakespeare's twin children, you know. Yeah. Twin kids will be getting into trouble, I think.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And what you've just done here, I mean, I've got to ask you what your favourite, because obviously you use colour in here, but what's your favourite medium for drawing, for painting?
Well, actually, today I'm using a 2B, but sometimes not 2B.
No, that was... Come on. It's really interesting, isn't it? Tell us about Shakespeare, though, about his life. Is there something we don't know about him? Because it's been so well documented.
Yeah, one of the things I find really fascinating is that Shakespeare and his mates, they were part of a theatre group, and they had one of the first theatres in the world. It was called The Theatre. And they were having problems with their landlord. And the landlord owned the land, but they owned the theatre. And he wanted to put up the rent, so... to solve the problem, they turn up a couple of days after Christmas and dismantle the theatre, move it south across the river, frozen River Thames, luckily it was frozen, and set it up on the south side of the Thames, and that theatre became the Globe.
Which is where they've now built the recreation of the Globe. And talking of the Globe, the pop-up Globe here in Auckland, been a massive success. You haven't been yet, but you're going tonight.
No, I'm going tonight. We're having a book launch there tonight, and then I'm going to see 12th Night, which will be a lot of bawdy fun, I think.
Which is the one I've seen there, and it is absolutely genius. Thank you very much indeed, Donovan Bixley, for coming in and sharing us not only your artistic genius, but a good bit of light-hearted fun about Shakespeare himself.
Very good, Rawdon. We did get it. To be or not to be, that is the question,
good.
and that was also the answer.
Dad joke.
Dad joke.